So you start thinking, I know what I did when I first made the switch. I was thinking immediately, why didn't I do this sooner? Like this seems like a no-brainer. It was like switching to the faster computer.
So how do you think this shift to more UK suppliers or more domestic suppliers generally, how do you think that has impacted the whole dropshipping model, especially for those who are just starting out?
Yeah, well, it's been a huge shift in the last few years. I remember as a seller originally trying to liaise with suppliers overseas and trying to arrange orders to be dispatched from China to my customers in the UK or the US or Europe. It would often take weeks for the products to arrive. And that was only half the problem, because often the products weren't anything like how they looked on AliExpress, in the nice photos that have all been kind of computer generated. So inevitably, when they do arrive, the customers are then disappointed. And it's really frustrating for you as a seller, because your kind of pride and joy is your business and you put all your effort into it. And then something that's outside of your control lets down the whole process and lets the customer down. And the frustrating thing about that as well is that there's no recourse, because you can't return an item to China. You can't ask your customer to send the item back to China. And I certainly didn't want them filling up my house. I didn't have the margin to go and hire a third-party fulfillment center so that I could then send them to there. So I just had to make a loss. I just had to write off those sales when that happened. And it did happen quite frequently because the quality of the products was so poor. And so since adapting and now working with the local suppliers, it's totally turned my businesses around, both in terms of profitability, obviously, but also customer satisfaction and ultimately business growth as well, because of those two elements. Imagine if you order something from a website now, you order it on your phone or your computer and you receive it the next day. That's almost expected in today's day and age. A bit like when you order something on Amazon, you expect it to come next day, don't you? I usually tick the box for Prime delivery just to make sure that I'm selecting from items that would come the next day, if not the same day sometimes. And so when you can do that for your customers as well, it does wonders for your customer loyalty, but also referrals. That's the hidden part of this, because when a customer orders from your site and then their product arrives tomorrow and they're really happy with it, then their friends ask, who did you buy that from? Where did you get that? And they're like, oh, I had a great experience. It was this company, super easy, really good. Especially if you've sent them a referral incentive discount code or something to try to get them to refer friends, you can really start to see that viral growth effect of referrals. I don't know if back in the day, did you ever have a computer that started to get quite clogged up and it's quite old, like one of these old rickety computers that's not got much memory left and it's just kind of been hanging around the house and the fan starts getting really loud as well. And you should replace it, but you kind of just persevere because you're like, oh, we'll replace it later. And it gets older and older and slower. And you almost just come to accept that low productivity due to how slow it is. But then one day you finally go out and you treat yourself to this brand new computer. And then suddenly it's lightning fast. And you're like, I didn't realize how fast a computer could be by comparison. It's incredible. And you think, why didn't I do this sooner? How much productivity have I been wasting with all the waiting around for things to load with the previous slow computer that I had? Well, it's kind of the same when you're switching from working with suppliers abroad, waiting for long delivery, dealing with that terrible communication barrier, all of the problems and lack of returns, the import taxes, and suddenly you install my Home Turf Advantage model into your business. You suddenly realize that your products are being delivered next day to customers now. Customers are really happy with them. The occasional return that you do get is really easy to manage when it does happen. And you make more profit per order, and you're not paying any like imports taxes or anything like that, because you're not having to know products are crossing the border because they're already in the UK with your suppliers. And so you start thinking, I know what I did when I first made the switch. I was thinking immediately, why didn't I do this sooner? Like this seems like a no-brainer. It was like switching to the faster computer. And the reasons for it are obviously the faster delivery time, the reduction in costs, so therefore higher profit margins, and the better communication. You can just pick up the phone to a UK supplier. You're dealing with humans and businesses that are local to you in the same market as you. They speak the same language, and it just makes ongoing communication and negotiation so much smoother. So that's definitely why we emphasize a big part of our program around finding the right suppliers inside our masterclass. We try and ensure that we've got strong foundations in place right from the start, because that then makes all the difference going forward in your business.
And you can avoid all of those headaches of having to go down the route that we've been down with the slower delivery time, like an old computer, and you don't realize it's been old and slow until you switch to something else. It's like that moment you realize. It's like when you didn't realize there was a noise in the background of a room the whole time until it stopped. So like when the fridge stops making a noise and then you realize, oh, the whole time that fridge was whirring away and you didn't realize. But you have to make a switch and then suddenly, the penny drops and okay, there's a different way of doing things. And that's become more and more prevalent recently as people have realized that there is a different way and there is outdated methods of dropshipping and there are current methods of dropshipping that's working right now today. So what that does is it increases the opportunity in this space and more people start to realize that there is this domestic home turf advantage model of dropshipping that's working right now with all of the benefits that you've mentioned there, by the fast delivery, the increased communication, the better quality product. But what that does is it often leads to more people dropshipping. And that's a question we get quite a lot is people start to worry because there's more opportunity. It means there's also an increased number of dropshippers in the space as well. So what's your take on this and how should new dropshippers approach it?
Yeah, I think this increase in popularity has happened due to the quality of the opportunity. People notice it and they're like, that's a great business model. I'm going to do the same. And so it proves that there is money being made in e-commerce and people are able to capitalize on it. But there are ways to stand out still. For example, with niche selection, if you choose a niche that isn't overly saturated but has enough demand by following our criteria that we lay out, it's kind of like you finding your unique corner in the busy market. You attract a specific audience and they come to you. Just a small percentage of that is fine. And then focusing on high ticket items as well and making sure that the products that you're selling are not these kind of widely available items that people could just buy from their own, high street. Making sure that you're creating something that stands out and that adds convenience to customers and that they can pick you because they resonate with the values that your brand stands for. And then talking of brand, really building a strong brand as well, creating a strong brand identity that resonates with your target audience. So it's not just about selling products, but actually building a brand that people trust and recognize and want to work with and want to buy from.